Outdoors Delmarva covers everything outdoors, including real fishing and hunting situations involving wildlife. We do our best each week to bring you tasteful content, but viewer discretion is advised. Now, enjoy the show.
This is Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
On this week's episode, we head to Dagsboro to walk through the Delaware Botanic Gardens. We meet a Salisbury man with a passion for walking sticks in Scorchy's Corner. We'll head to St. Andrew's School in Middletown for the Special Olympics Delaware Fall Festival. And we'll swing by Gateway Subaru to share the love.
Welcome to Outdoors Delmarva, the show dedicated to a commitment of conservation and to the community that makes Delmarva's outdoors such a hidden gem here in the Mid-Atlantic. My name is Jason Lee, and on this Veterans Day weekend, I'd like to say thank you to all the men and women who have served this great country.
This is Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards. And now, here's Jason Lee.
There's a reason why so many people get out into nature when it comes to trying to better their mood. And a quick walk around the Delaware Botanic Gardens might be just what you need in order to make you feel better about whatever's going on in life.
It's always neat to discover something different right in your own backyard, such as the case with the Delaware Botanic Gardens in Dagsboro. Our guide today is Brent Baker, Director of Communications for the Gardens.
The thing I like about the fall season in the garden is you can actually see what I call the architecture of the garden. You'll get an idea, well, look at his design and how many plants he has. And when we get up, I'm going to show you, you'll look back on the garden and you'll see he has these different grass flower combinations. And it's beautiful any season. People say, well, all the flowers are done. Why would you want to come to the garden now? Because you can see the architecture. We still have plenty of color in the garden. We're on a 37-acre site. It used to be a farm field. And the main garden, which is the Pete Aldoff Meadow right over there, is a 2.5 acres, and that was where the soybean field was. Well, who's this guy Pete Aldoff? He's a famous Dutch designer, and it's kind of funny. We had one of our volunteers that's up in Washington, D.C. This is a good internet story, and she was on a blog talking about gardens, and Pete was on there, and she said, Mr. Aldoff, would you be interested in coming to Delaware? We're going to create a botanic garden in Delaware. Anyway, to make the story short, we went and picked up Mr. Aldoff, brought him down here, and first thing he did was he reached down into the soil. He said, I've never done a garden in a beach environment, in a rural environment like this. And so he really liked it. We met a bunch of our volunteers, and he couldn't believe all these volunteers were running this garden. We're going through 2.5 acres. There's 70,000 plants, perennial plants and grasses in here. Last year we planted 84,000 spring bulbs, and we are about to plant 60,000 more spring bulbs. One of the things Pete Aldoff wanted was for people to be able to get up like they're a drone and look back on his garden. So let's walk up to the top of the mound. And when he was building this garden, Pete personally built this mound. He said, you're not doing it right. It's not high enough. It's not the way I want it. And he got out here and he had a shovel and a rake. Now you can look back on this concentric design, see the paths coming around here. There's 2 miles of trails here at the Delaware Botanic Garden. You notice they're flat and wide. They're ADA compatible, so if you have someone that has a wheelchair or some kind of mobility device, they would be able to go around here. We have 12 acres of woodlands, and that's where 86 species of birds are at. And what the birds do, they live in the woods and they come out and feed in these gardens. We don't cut back our gardens till February. Most people come and cut back their gardens in the fall. Why is that? Because this is a home of wildlife. And these insects and bugs and birds, they still feed off of these seed heads. And that's why you'll see all this garden, you'll say, my goodness, that plant's dead. Why isn't it gone away because they come and feed on that particular garden. Now we're going to go up and I'll introduce you to the president and the executive director. And the executive director, Cheryl Swed, was one of the original Delaware people that decided to build a garden here. So she's been with the gardens at the very beginning. And then Ray Sander, who's the president, has been the president since we built everything here. So they know everything about the garden.
We'll continue our walk through the Delaware Botanic Garden right after the break. Outdoors Delmarva, we'll be right back.
You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
Welcome back to Outdoors Delmarva. We continue our walk here through the Delaware Botanic Gardens right now.
Delaware Botanic Gardens Executive Director Cheryl Swed and President Ray Sander joined in on the tour and explained what makes the gardens in Dagsboro so unique.
Well, I think it's really important to think about a 21st century botanical garden, and this is what we are today. A botanical garden in a lot of people's minds is just a lot of pretty flowers and flowering bushes, maybe some trees, but a 21st century public garden has another mission, and that is to encourage people to come outdoors so they appreciate the outdoors and also to be able to preserve and sustain the outdoors.
When Pete Aldorf was here, we walked around and this was a soybean field, and it was kind of like a wild meadow, and he was touching some of the things like dog fennel and so forth, and he said, "This is very beautiful, but we can make it more beautiful."
And I hope that you agree that your viewers, if they come out here before we close on November 20th, can see what this 5th season is. This is the 5th season of the Pete Aldorf Meadow, and it just is, I think, glorious. I think it's as beautiful as any of the seasons that he plans for. And the colors out there and the contrasts and the movement of the grasses are just take my breath away every time. And I see it 5 times a week. I'm still excited about it.
We open on St. Patrick's Day or the day before St. Patrick's Day. We'll be closing on the 20th of November. So it's coming up pretty fast. 85% of the meadow are all native plants. And they're much better for the pollinators, the bees, the butterflies. We had hundreds and hundreds of butterflies this summer. And they were just everywhere.
So if any of your viewers want to get involved in that process, they can go on our website, delawaregardens.org, and there's a place to indicate that you'd like to be a volunteer and what you have to do to volunteer. We'd love to have some more people come out, because not only do you work out here when you're a volunteer, but you also share in the beauty of it, and you walk around when you're finished your tour, and you can still enjoy it through December, January. And it's a beautiful place even during those times. So while we're being closed to the public, there's a lot of activity here because that's when we have to get ready for next season. A garden is never finished. A garden is something you have to continually do, and it's always building on the future. We have a lot of different skill sets, so we've had people come from overseas to see his garden because he's got this following from around the world. It's been amazing.
But now there's a garden in Dagsboro. Think about it. Put Dagsboro on the map.
To find out more and to become a volunteer here at the Delaware Botanic Gardens, go to delawaregardens.org. Still to come, we'll head up to Middletown as we check in with the Special Olympics Delaware Fall Festival. But if you're going to be walking around the Delaware Botanic Gardens, you might want a walking stick. And in Scorchy's Corner, we're going to meet a man who makes just those. Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. We'll be right back.
Get outdoors, Delmarva!
You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards. Sponsored by Shorts Marine.
Welcome back to Outdoors Delmarva. Now, it's been said that you're never too old to start something new, especially if it's a passion of yours. Well, we're going to find out just how true that is in this week's Scorchy's Corner, sponsored by Shorts Marine.
honoring the life and legacy of Scorchy Taws. Thanks to Shorts Marine in Long Neck, Delaware. Shorts Marine, everything but the water.
Walter Hoppus of Salisbury makes walking sticks.
I have made walking sticks in their natural form for everything from maple to wild rose, including sweet shrub and dogwood and sassafras and even mulberry.
Walter Hoppus has been pursuing his unique hobby for 15 years.
They put me to pasture in 1974. They didn't tell me to walk a quarter of a mile. They just let me do whatever I felt like doing.
And right then and there, his idea light lit up.
I had seen some walking sticks that had been made from tree saplings where they would dig them and cure them and cut off all the unnecessary roots to make what looked like a cane. Just have a good imagination, and I would imagine one thing and imagine something else, and I would get an inspiration from one thing and another.
Over the years, Walter Hoppus estimates he's made upwards of 100 walking sticks. No two of them alike.
No, heavens to Betsy, no. They look similar, some of them do, but there are no two that are exactly alike.
And if you're wondering what a man does with 100 walking sticks,
I have donated a number of them to charity organizations. I have never sold one.
Sold one never. Donated them, yes, but only to close friends and for charitable fundraising purposes. Walter Hoppus loves giving to help others.
I do. I get satisfaction from it, and I consider this hobby as therapeutic.
Therapeutic from the standpoint of bringing new life into sometimes pallid cheeks of wood and refining them into what were once household items of an era long past. Walking sticks, made today with pride by Walter Hoppus. Scorchy Taws, wandering our Delmarvelous land for WBOC News.
I've made these things out of everything that you...
Remembering Scorchy Taws is presented by Shorts Marine, online at shortsmarine.com.
Did you know the Hog Island Lights, a coastal beacon that was once the second tallest lighthouse in the United States and stood for half a century on the southern end of Hog Island in Virginia, was decommissioned and demolished in 1948 when shoreline erosion threatened to bring it down? The site where the lighthouse once stood is now nearly a mile out to sea. Now you do.
Did You Know is sponsored by North Bay Marina. Outdoors Delmarva will be right back. You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
When it comes to the annual Special Olympics Delaware Fall Festival, there are no words to describe how it feels to be back at St. Andrew's School in Middletown.
Thrilled to be back on the campus here at St. Andrews after a 2-year hiatus because of COVID. Ironically, the very first fall festival we held almost 30 years ago was held right here on this campus. And then it bounced around, and then about 5 or 6 years ago we came back, and they've made a commitment to us and us to them that this is the place where we're going to hold this great event. And but what it is, it's over 400 athletes and about 50 unified partners taking part in 4 different sports: bocce, soccer, flag football, and a 5K run and a 1-mile walk. And it's an opportunity for those athletes to come here, show off the skills that they've been practicing since the middle of August, hopefully run away with some medals here. But if not, you ask any athlete that's here, they've had a great time, and they do it because they love to show the public what they are capable of. It's really amazing that Chase Bank has sponsors this event for 24 straight years, and it's the only event that we have of all of our events throughout the state where the committee is run and organized by Chase employees. And all the people you see in blue shirts, they're either employees of Chase, who normally would be off today, but they've committed their time to come down here, or St. Andrews students, which is a big deal too, because you can imagine the impact that this has on their lives, because most of them will not stay here in Delaware because they're from all over the country and all over the world. But wherever they go, they'll remember this experience of being part of Special Olympics, and you just never know how that might impact their communities down the road with how they are able to impact the lives of people with disabilities. It's an event that they look forward to every single year, is coming out and volunteering, some in the same roles, some here for the first time who I've gone around. We've only been here for a couple hours and they can't wait to come back next year. They're already asking, when's the date, so I can get it on my calendar.
We have plunged into the ocean, we have rappelled down the side of buildings. We've done everything to raise money for this great cause, and I got into it really for the thrill of the plunge at first, and then I got to know a lot of the athletes and meet them and find out what it's really about. And you get a sense of that today. You see the camaraderie, you see the community coming out and rallying support for these athletes. It's a great feeling.
And don't forget that we are going to be a part of the 2023 Special Olympics Delaware Polar Bear Plunge in Lewis this year. So keep an eye on our social media pages for more information about that. Coming up after the break, we'll wrap up the show with your latest viewer photos and videos, and we will be stopping by our friends at Gateway Subaru as we attempt to share the love. Outdoors Delmarva, we'll be right back.
You're watching Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru. Higher standards.
Outdoors Delmarva is proud to partner with Gateway Subaru, and they're about to kick off one of the best events of the year. I caught up with Janet Beyer of Gateway Subaru to get all the details of the Subaru Share the Love event that kicks off November 17th.
You buy a new Subaru from Gateway and we will donate $250 towards a charity of your choice, and for an extra $50 if you choose our local charity, Believe in Tomorrow.
Oh, that's good stuff. I love Believe in Tomorrow. They've got a great organization, and it's awesome that Gateway Subaru is, of course, continuing on with Share the Love event. This has been going on for several years, and now seems like a great time to get involved with that. And as far as the charities go with Share the Love event, we've got ASPCA, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Meals on Wheels, and my personal favorite, the National Park Foundation, and of course our local charity that you mentioned earlier, the Believe in Tomorrow. Now when someone comes in, they buy a vehicle, they get to choose from one of those 5, and you told me that they also get additional sharing the love when they come in for service. Tell us about that.
So any routine service appointment that you come in, we'll donate of your choice an extra $5 to the charity.
And that's through the period of Share the Love, which is November 17th through January 3rd.
That's correct.
And they can make their appointments right there at the service department, and sounds like a good time that they might want to come by and see you to start customizing that new Subaru.
Absolutely. And say hello to whiskey.
Say hello to whiskey, absolutely. Subaru's Share the Love event goes from November 17th through January 3rd, and to get all the details, stop by the store or go online to gatewaysubaru.com.
Welcome back to Outdoors Delmarva. It's time to flip through the photo album and take a look at your latest viewer photos and videos thanks to our friends at North Bay Marina.
12-year-old Dalton Kinzel of Seaford got his second 8-pointer of the season, just weeks apart from the first one he ever got back in October. This one was harvested on Youth Day with his late grandfather's 450. You're on a roll, Dalton. 10-year-old Tristan Sipes of Milton also got in on the Youth Day action by harvesting his first buck. Well done, Tristan. Ryan German, along with his wife Shannon and their children, Sky, Dylan, and Braden, are quite the adventurers, sending in videos of family outings to Rockford Park and Lums Pond State Park in the Newcastle County area.
Outdoors Delmarva viewer pictures are sponsored by North Bay Marina.
Well, that's our show for this week. Remember to keep sending in those photos and videos by emailing outdoors@wboc.com. Remember to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And of course, we'll see you right back here. And until then, I hope to see you outdoors, Delmarva.
Outdoors Delmarva, presented by Gateway Subaru, sponsored by Shorts Marine.